Today we're going to make the ribbon skirt. So I finally have another piece of material that I'm going to use for this. It's a really simple process. You want to roll enough, open it. You place it around your waist. And you generally put it together, and you want enough material out front to take one step. So you cover one step of the ribbon dress. So I can bring this back a little. Okay, back a little bit more. Okay, so that covers my step and it covers the length of my arms. So this is what I'm going to make my dress out of. Okay, now that you have your length that goes around, you make one small cut. Okay. And this is going to be my new ribbon skirt. Now the next step is to match the colors of the ribbon that we want to use. So we have the skirt in a bit of light, and this normally takes 1 spool of ribbon per skirt. And I have a selection of ribbon, so I'll pull out as many different of the colors to determine what color I want to pull out in this skirt. I have a variety of colors to see which color looks best. And ribbon, I have 2 different types of ribbon. I'm not sure if you can see that. That is a grained ribbon, and this is a smooth ribbon. So when I do this, I will also make sure that I have all of the same type of ribbon. And there's also a cable wire as well as a regular grain ribbon. So we want to make sure that all of the ribbon is the same type, whatever ribbon we pick. So let's get a really close-up view of the colors of this one-of-a-kind material that I picked. And see what colors we want to bring out in this. And it's not going to matter. Once you get the ribbon on there, it brings out all kinds of really pretty colors. It'll pull the colors of the actual material. So this material has a lot of different options. So I have to determine what options that I think that I want to go with. Let's have white. So I do not think that I'm going to go with like the traditional reds and oranges. But I think I'll go with the more pastel colors for this one. This is a brighter red. Yeah, I don't see a lot of bright red in this, so I'm going to eliminate the red. I don't see a lot of this pink, so I'm going to eliminate that color pink. Okay. This is some type of yellow. Now I do kind of see this peach in there, so maybe this peach would really bring out pretty colors in this material. I'm not sure if it's really a turquoise blue. And maybe some browns. And I like to take my time on the ribbon selection. Okay, so this is wired. So I don't want wired for this piece of material. So the wired is a more stiff, so that it keeps it in place. So I had to just determine whether I kind of like this combination. So if I do these two, I would definitely have to do more of a green. Let's see if I have any other green. Okay, so I have one of those. I think this is going to be a really good, pretty color combination. So I think that is what we're going to choose for this skirt, or these colors. So let's eliminate these and see if we like that. I just have to choose the order I want to put it in. That's going to pick out really pretty colors. Okay, let's see. The next step is we're going to try a new way of attaching the ribbon to this skirt. So I purchased this fusing material, and I'm going to cut the length of ribbon in the pattern that I want, so that I can fuse it to the material and sew it together. Now, in the past, I've tried pins. I've tried many different methods. I've tried this spray glue, this 505 temporary adhesive. I don't like it. It holds for a little while, but by the time you get to like the third or fourth ribbon, it's all popping off, and you have to use pins anyway. So I'm going to try this applique procedure instead. So I'm going to now measure my skirt. I'm going to measure the bottom part to see how much ribbon I'm going to need. And then cut the ribbon to the exact measurement so there's no waste. Okay, so I'm going to cut 78 inches for the ribbon and the backing material. And it gives instructions on how to do it. So you read the instructions, save a little clip of it. I want to cut 78 inches length like this way for my heat bond material. Probably cut a little bit bigger just in case my measurements are off. Okay, 60. Plus 18. Okay, I'm going to cut a little bit longer than 78 inches, just in case it's crooked on the other side, so I can make it even. I'm going to fuse my ribbon to this side, and while I'm at it, I'm going to cut some directions too. This little handy swatch of directions. Now this is what I use for appliques, if I do any fancy cutouts, which I may do a fancy cutout applique on this ribbon dress if I have time. This is the color combination that I chose for this one-of-a-kind hand piece of material. It's one of a kind, and it was hand dyed and decorated. So, and I thought that these colors pull out the best of this piece of material. So, and this is the color combination. There's not a lot of white in this, but sometimes I like to wear white. So I want to pick out white. There is some peach, there are some browns and some reds. So this is the color combination. I'm going to do it just like this. And for this skirt, I'm going to sew all the ribbon together. So I'll probably zigzag in between all the ribbon combinations. So let's start with the first one. So if I'm going to make this pattern, then I'm going to need 2 lengths of this, 2 lengths of this, 2 of this, and 1 of this, if I'm making this pattern, okay? This is 7/8 of an inch. So I will times 7/8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will do 7/8 times 7 and cut my backing the right width so that when I'm placing these ribbons on, when I'm doing these ribbons, then it will be easier and there won't be any extra to cut. Just may go over just a tiny bit so that the ribbon stays in place. 78 inches, and I need 2 of these. I'm going to go over a little bit. Here's 60. Start over. 18 more inches. And I'll use this as a guide ribbon. All right. Now I like to go over just a tiny bit so that edges don't fray. Okay. So this should be my guide of, this should be the guide of all my ribbons. Just double measure just to make sure. placing the ribbon in the pattern that I chose. Like so. I think I may just change this here. Put the peachy color next to the white. Now, I see this is going to be a challenge, so I'm going to pin this down and turn it upside down and sew it with the, iron it with the pins in it. And what I want to do is I want to make sure it gets all the way on the edge of the fusing paper before I cut it. So I'm going to grab some pins. And tack this down. I think I may just change this around again to the red next to the white. And the pretty tip on the outside. Let's see what it looks like the other way. It's always good to take your time on the design. There's no undoing this part. Once you have it on there, that's it. I think I like it like this. I like the dark contrast with the white in the center. Okay. Yeah. Now that we have our color combination figured out, so we're going to do the white, burgundy, and then end up with the taupe. Everything gets cut in half because you have two sides to the skirt. So it's real simple. You just line each one up and cut it in half so that we can
the two sides of this.
seven ribbons, and 7 eighths is going to be 7 inches. So I'm going to just fold this so that I get a straight edge so that it's even. 7 inches. Now that we have our 2 pieces cut out and the pattern that we chose for the ribbons, we're going to place it on top as neat as possible. After we use our parchment paper, we just turn it upside down, and we have our applique. So I put parchment paper on top so that I can do both sides. So I'm doing this side directly on the ribbon with the parchment paper. And I'll let that cool a bit. Turn it upside down. Just fit the center. To make sure that the adhesive sticks to the ribbon.
Move it to the parchment paper. We'll give it one more pass on top of the ribbon.
One more burst of heat directly on top of the ribbon. And then again, the back side. This is the side I'm going to peel. Okay. Here's our other applique of ribbon work. One for each side of the skirt. And these will just get matched up on the seams of the skirt, and it'll be continuous. So we don't really need these right now, so we're going to work on the skirt next. Okay, now we're going to finish working with the actual skirt. So the skirt has to be in 2 pieces. So long ways. Here's my long ways. So I folded it in half. Now, when they did the bolt, when I ripped it, it came out really straight. So we're going to take the longest pieces from the rip, because that was where we made our step, and go up all the way in half, make our cut, and then rip these 2 in half. I like this particular material because it really doesn't fray a lot, so I'm not going to put a stitch on the edges. So I have my 2 pieces of skirt. I'm going to place them inside out. To measure where I'm going with my waist. Move it back out on the table. Make sure it's even. How you measure the waist is you take your waist measurement plus 20 divided by 2. And then I already know what mine is. So then you have to fold your material in 2. And make sure all the pieces line up. Then you'll take that number and half it again. And that's where you're going to start your taper. So on my half, where I'm going to start my taper, where I'm going to start cutting is right here. And I'm going to cut from here all the way down on an angle so that there's only a small amount at the top of the waist so that it's not so bunchy at the waist, yet we still have a lot of skirt at the bottom. Okay. Take a 17. Okay. 17. And since I have them together, I'm gonna cut all the pieces together. And just cut on an angle until you cut the whole entire corner off. Because I want my ribbons to line up on both sides. So now I'm ready to place my ribbons on the skirt. So I'll give myself some hem room. So I would like to have my ribbons up here. I may just do an applique piece as well. So ready to peel this away from the glue. Carefully. Place it on my skirt. So this is a 7 1/4 inches off of that side. And 7 1/4 inches off of this side. We're ready to iron this on. Be careful. Remember, this is the outside. You want your design to be on the outside. Now that I'm going to sew these together with a zigzag stitch to hold them all together, I have to determine what color is going to look best, or if I have to use two colors. Now, red touches the taupe. There is a lot of this color red. There's not a lot of this color peach. Maybe there is. So the red touches the taupe and the orange on both sides. So I could use the red zigzag stitch here and here. But then I have to determine whether the red is going to look good here as well, or if I have to change it to a taupe. So I have some decisions to make. Is if I'm going to utilize more than one color combination, or if I'm going to make this all consistent with the same zigzag stitch. So I will contemplate what I'm going to do next. I had it in my my ideas that I was going to make it all one color, but then now I have to determine what color is going to look pretty cool on the whole thing. So I can do the gold or the taupe over all of it with this really pretty peach over all of it, with this red on all of it. It's going to take me a while to figure it out. I decided to go with the red to sew, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch to sew them all together. Now all the ribbon is sewn on. I'm going to trim the extra edges so that's even with the material. Do both sides. Now I'm ready to line up the sides and to sew the sides of the skirt together. And they should line up really nicely because we measured 7 inches from the top. And I'll pin it together so it stays in place. So I want the same color ribbons to line up on the edges. So put the pins like so to make sure it stays lined up. Okay, so now we're going to sew the 2 sides together. And I'm going to start at the bottom on each side to go up because I want my ribbons sides to be equal and in line. So I'm going to go in 5/8 of an inch, start from the bottom, and just be careful that you do not sew on top of the pins. Take them out as you go along. Okay, just repeat that for the other side. And all the ribbon work is matched perfectly. Okay, next step, after we've sewn it together, we want to iron this seam apart. So that it lays flat. Then you turn it upside down, inside out, and you iron the seams flat on the outside. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is the hem. And I'm going to do a double roll hem and sew it on the sewing machine. I'm not going to hand stitch this. I could do a really pretty slip stitch, but for time's sake, we're just going to do a double roll, iron it, and sew it. So I'm going to iron the first roll. Okay, and then you just roll it again, which is the second roll. And technically, since this is a salvaged end, I don't have to give it a double roll. If this was a cut end, like if you had to shorten it, I'm very tall, so I want to keep as much length as possible. Technically, this is a salvage end, so I don't have to cut. I don't have to do a double roll. But if this was a cut end, you could do a double roll. We're ready to sew the hem. I like to start at the seam, and I'll sew at the top of the fold. Okay, the last part of this skirt is the waistband, and we're going to use the same technique that we use for the hem. And we're just going to do a double roll. We have to make sure that it covers the thickness of our waistband. This was already cut out, stretches. So for this, I'm going to sew it inside out so I can iron it. Do my double seam. You just have to make sure that the seams at the top where the two skirts go together are definitely open when you do this. So I'm going to do 2 rolls. And take your iron again. And just press it down so that it stays in place when you're sewing. Now, there's 2 types of waistbands that you can do. You can leave an edge so that it makes a puffiness at the top, or you can do a smooth. I prefer to do a smooth waistband because I like to wear my shirts on top and not underneath. I'm going to do a small roll, not very big, because I'm going to double roll this. And this part that I'm ironing down is the part that you're going to sew on the bottom for the waistband. Okay, so we're ready for the next turn. And for the next turn, we have a 1 inch elastic, so the next turn you want to at least do 1.5 inches so that you have enough room to sew it down and for the elastic to go inside. So you're going to do 1.5 inches. It's right there. And this will be the final step of sewing. The final step of sewing, we put the elastic through. And the skirt is finished. Then I'll show you a couple of other designs that I made with the different ribbon work, different materials. You're not always going to make a cotton skirt. Sometimes you need something more fancy. So you want to use different materials. There's satins, taffetas, satin ribbons versus the gross grain ribbon like I have. We'll sew the waistband on. You're going to sew all of the area except for one space. You're going to leave one space open so that you're able to fish the elastic through. So I'm going to start on this side and then go all the way around. And sew it all the way around. And I'm going to sew closer to the edge of the first fold. I'm just going to use a safety pin on my elastic, and I got a knitting needle in case I need to push it through further. I'll find my opening and then funnel the elastic through and then sew it off with the sewing machine. Really simple. Ouch. Simple if it comes open. Just hold on to this other end and you do it. And that's at the end. After you have the elastic pulled through, you put it together flat and you just put a couple of seams in it with the sewing machine. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show is the different styles. So here's the skirt that we just made with the ribbon sewn zigzag together at the bottom with the different color combinations. And this is a one-of-a-kind piece of material, handmade one-of-a-kind piece of material, but it's 100% cotton. Now here's another type of skirt, but this is a double skirt. It has a clear chiffon on top, embroidered, and then the ribbon is sewn individually, and it's satin ribbon, unlike the other one I just showed you that is gross grain ribbon. This is satin ribbon, and I used the same color thread and sewed each ribbon separately because this is a satin material that's underneath this. So gross grain wouldn't have worked as well, so I used satin for this ribbon dress. And this is another just regular cotton with satin ribbon. So this is cotton with satin ribbon. And you can see the difference. So let me show you the difference between gross grain and satin. The gross grain is it's not shiny. It's the more dull. And then this I did in each individual ribbon, matching the thread color to the ribbon, not zigzagging it together. This is a whole different pattern style. There's so many different ways you can do your ribbons. You can do your ribbons in a pattern, you can do applique. No two dresses can be alike or should be alike. So, but these are the different ribbon styles. Satin ribbon and gross grain ribbon that is stitched together with a zigzag stitch. So those are the different styles of dresses.